Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel Hireable Coder, and this is part 3 of the series where we are developing a very simple full stack application with React as the front end and Spring Boot as the back end. We already have seen or covered the front end and the back end part, and there are the videos for the front end and the back end respectively. If you have not covered part 1 and part 2, then please go through them first before you come to this video. Now again, a quick summary that a full stack application is one where we have a front end running in its own server and back end in a different server of its own, and the database in even another different server on its own. Why different servers? Because then it is easier for us to scale the back end and the front end as well as the database server independently, and we can also do the development independently. So this is the overall architecture of a full stack application. And as you already know that we are developing a full stack application with React as the front end and Spring Boot as the back end, and they communicate with each other over HTTP. So the React front end sends a HTTP request and the Spring Boot back end sends back a HTTP response. And this is a very simple front end where I'm trying to search the profile detail of a customer, and then it is sending a HTTP GET request to this REST endpoint, and this endpoint, if it receives the request, it extracts the detail from the request and sends the response back. So let us now go and see the code. Let us now go and see the demo, and then we will see the code. But before we go there, I want to make a quick request. If you like my video and explanation, please subscribe to my channel and also view my other videos and provide any feedback, because that's going to motivate me to produce quality videos. So this is the React-based front end, and I'm going to search a profile which is present in the backend. I know that the name of the profile is Danny, so I'm going to search for this profile, and let's see the outcome. So the profile is present, and sorry, because of my zoom you are unable to see it properly. Yes, the age is 28 and country is USA. Now we are going to search for another profile by the name maybe Danny1, which is not present. It says profile not found. And then I'm going to search with another profile which is present, and then it's again able to find that profile. So this is happening because the React frontend is sending the request to the REST endpoint, which is the Spring Boot backend, and the Spring Boot backend is extracting the profile name, and then it is searching the profile, and if present, then it returns the details of the profile. If not present, it throws an error, and then I show from the React frontend that profile is not found. So now let us go and see the code, fast code. So this is the home component, and the magic happens here when I click the submit button, when I click the search profile button, right? So whenever I click the search profile button, then the magic happens here. Then basically what happens is, as soon as I click the search button, then the form is submitted, and then this particular JavaScript function handle submit to that is invoked, and this function in turn calls the REST endpoint, which is located at this URL localhost:8080/API/1/profile, and then the profile name, which is Danny or Peter or Danny1, it's passed dynamically. And based on the response, so if the response is a good response, which is HTTP 200, then I'm showing the details like age and country. And if the response is it's not a good response, if there is an error, then I'm getting this profile not found. So this is what is happening at a high level, but there are also a couple of other things here, like there is a concept of React state here, which I'm not going into detail. I will create another separate video for that, but it is important for you to understand at least that when I'm clicking the search button, then the form is submitted, and HTTP request is sent using this Axios library to the Spring Boot backend, because the Spring Boot backend has actually exposed this service at port 8080 and then /API/1/profile. So let us now open the Spring Boot backend to see. So the Spring Boot backend is here. So the most important class for the Spring Boot backend is the controller class, because that's the point of entry. And see, API/1/profile is the overall endpoint name, followed by a customer name which is passed dynamically, which is Danny or Peter or whatever I'm passing. And then what I'm doing is I'm extracting the customer name into this variable, and then I'm sending the customer name to the next layer, which is the service layer. The service layer is receiving the customer name here, and then the service layer is calling the next layer, which is the DAO layer, with the same customer name. The DAO layer is an interface. The implementation of the DAO layer is here, where the DAO layer is actually trying to find out the customer name from this hash map. So data holder is a hash map. So here there is a hard-coded data, but in real life we can actually, or rather we will actually store the data in a database, and we will retrieve the data from that database. So this is the Spring Boot backend which actually retrieves the request, which actually receives the request from React at this endpoint API/1/profile, and then the customer name. Then it extracts the customer name, and with that customer name it tries to find out the details from either, in this case, from its own hash map, or maybe if we extend this, then we can actually search it from a local file system, or maybe from a database, and try to find out the customer detail. And then we return the response, and we return the response as a person. So person is an object, and Spring Boot automatically converts this object into JSON format. So that is why this Axios library on the front end, again I'm going to the front end, the Axios library at the front end is able to receive the response, and if it's a good response, which means it's a JSON response, it's able to extract the age and the country from the response, because the age and the country were attributes of the person object which was returned by the Spring Boot backend. And then it is able to set the profile details in this area. However, if it is error, then it is setting the error details in this area. So this is all, and again I would definitely request you to download both the code of the front end and the back end, and then run the code, and then see whether you are able to get the response for the valid case, for a valid data like Danny or Peter, which is present in the backend. So thank you, and I hope the session was useful. But please go through all the 3 parts of this series. And I just forgot to mention one thing while showing the demo, that the HTTP request, when it was sent from the React to the Spring Boot, it was an asynchronous request which was sent, which means the form was not submitted. So while we were still on the page, the form was not submitted. There was an asynchronous request which went to the Spring Boot and then fetched the data and then showed the data asynchronously in the same page. So this is how modern web applications are built. In previous years, we had to submit the page and go to another page. Now everything is in a single HTML page, and all the communication to the backend happens asynchronously. So this is something which we are going to see more and more in my videos, and you are going to enjoy it, because this is the way in which modern web applications are built. Last but not the least, thank you once again, and if you really like my explanation and my video, then please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and like my video, and also view my other videos in the channel and provide me feedback, because that's going to motivate me to produce further quality videos. And also please to share it with your friends, whoever you think will be helped by this video.